Hey guys, welcome back. Week 2 of the Open 2020. Myself, Sam Smith, Brian Foley. Let's just get right into it. So week 2 workout, 20-minute AMRAP, 4 dumbbell thrusters, almost forgot, 6 toes to bar, and 24 double unders. So initial thoughts for you on that?
Sustain.
Yes, that's
Right?
our hashtag for the week, which we were going to add at the end, but I figured right now is a good time. Sustain. So last week we had a task-dependent workout where you had a fixed amount of work and you had to get that done as fast as possible. And now we have a time-dependent workout, which is still challenging capacity, but now it's going to look at how well do you know yourself and how well can you keep chipping away at this work for 20 minutes. So I want to go give people the scores from the athletes who did it this evening. So we had 2 guys in Australia. Matt McLeod, who was top 10 at the games this year, he got 900 reps, which was 26 rounds and I believe 15 reps, which is a lot of work. And then Con Porter, who's a former games athlete, he competed this year on a team. He did 23 rounds and 11 reps, which was still a lot. And then in Canada, Carol Ann Reeson-Thibault, I didn't want to butcher her name, she did 27 rounds and 10 reps, which is an absurd amount of work. That's like almost 1,000 reps in 20 minutes. That's insane. And then what's her first name? I forget her first name, but Provost, is it starts with a C. I'm sorry if you see this, I apologize. I forgot your first name. She's also a games athlete, and I believe she did 25 plus rounds, which is still a lot of work. So just to give context around scoring, and those are obviously elite level scores, but we're going to get into some avatars and where people might sit based on what they think their scoring might be on this workout. So with that said, Brian, why don't you take over equipment?
Cool. So vital piece in these top scores is where you're going to be placing your equipment, guys. So what we want to do is go from a pull-up bar, take about 6 to 8 big steps maximum, and that's where you want to start to place your dumbbells and your rope. Place your dumbbells side by side so that as you transition from the toe to bar, you're making this kind of a triangle transition. This will keep you guys in a natural cadence and flow and allow you to really focus in on your reps and your rounds and pace. Okay, let's see, what else do we want to do with the dumbbells? Keep those organized every time you put them down and together, and the same thing with your rope, keep that unraveled, okay? You don't want to have it skipping up in the ropes, and as a side piece for your rope, make sure that you have 2. If you've ever been in a competition and that boy snaps, it's not fun, okay? Let's see. I think that's it for now for that.
Perfect.
Avatars?
Let's get into avatars. All right, so again, 3 groups, like every week. Group 1, I'm classifying as people who are going to get 15 rounds, or maybe that's the goal is 15, so maybe you're in the 10 to 15 round range, which would, do the math. If you're going to do 15 rounds, that's 90-second splits in your rounds, and if you're under it, then obviously it's going to take more than 90 seconds, and if you're slightly above 15 rounds, then it's going to be a little bit faster than that, just to give context around for certain athletes who might want a specific split that they're going to try to hit. So the notes I have for this group, which Brian just kind of touched on equipment. When you have a workout like this for 20 minutes where the rep range is really low, you want to create this this circuit that you just keep doing for 20 minutes. And so for people in this group, it could be beneficial that you create some space between your pieces of equipment so that it's almost like your rest is built into your transition from movement to movement. So you don't even have to think about resting or maybe the discomfort you're in, but what you're thinking about is like, all right, I did my thrusters, I'm going to walk over here, do my toes to bar, I'm going to walk over here, do my double unders, and you're just going to do that for 20 minutes, and you create this nice flow that's just, it's just smooth, and you can just sustain that, which is what we're trying to go after, #sustain. So that can be a very powerful tool for you guys to use, and additionally, if we look at those 3 movements for people who are going to be in this group, the toes to bar could be the highlighting piece that you're going to have to figure out. Do I break this up or do I push for unbroken sets? Because if you are doing 15 rounds, that's 90 toes to bar. So you can look back at your training and see like how many reps have I done in a session or how many have I done over a week to give you context on like where you sit with volume. And so if say you're doing, 70, 80 max reps in a week or in a session, then 90 is going to be a lot, which means you're going to probably need to partition that more to prevent you from getting to the point where you're doing singles. Like you want to be trying to do doubles or triples for as long as you can to keep, remember, that nice consistent rhythm going for 20 minutes. So partitioning from the front end, that's totally fine. 4-2, 3-3, even doubles, that's okay. Like your goal is to try to just keep a consistent tempo for 20 minutes. And if that means you got to break things up, that's totally fine. But that's what's going to help you push past people, is keeping that cadence up, keeping your work rate up. Same with the double unders. If that's something that is challenging for you or you don't feel as confident in, because again, you do the math, 15 rounds, you're looking at almost 400 double unders, which again, look back at your training, like how many double unders have you done in training or in one session? That's a lot. So if you need to break that into 12-12 or whatever it is, that's totally fine. The last thing you want to do is push it too early and then get about 5-6 rounds in, and now you're tripping up constantly because you're just fatigued beyond the point that allows you to keep going. So have some humility up front and think that, you know, if I have to partition this up front, that's okay. It's not about how you start, it's about how you're going to finish. So yeah, so that would be the big theme for you guys, is trying to maximize your ability to keep a nice consistent tempo. Group 2, I'm saying, is in the 17 to 20 round range. So you're looking at 60 to 70 second splits. So a little bit faster, but with the equipment set up, you're still going to keep the same intention in mind, where you're trying to create a nice little circuit where it's like I go here, 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 I go here for 20 minutes. So that's kind of the same. What might be different with you guys is the rate at which you're cycling those things might be a little bit faster. So you might have a little bit more volume built in toasted bar, you might have a little bit more volume built in double unders, and in training in general. So you're going to be able to keep your cadence a little bit hotter, which means you might actually be able to push toasted bar deeper unbroken for an X amount of rounds. But if you have to partition those and you find yourself as not as proficient in that movement, that's totally fine as well. Because if you're going to be near 20 rounds, I mean, that's 120 toasted bars. So again, looking at training, if that's a lot for you, then maybe you break them from the start, or maybe you do X amount of rounds and then you move to 4-2, or you do 3-3. It's totally fine. You're again trying to keep this constant tempo as long as possible. I mean, that's the theme for everyone, as compared to last week, where it was like trying to find a rhythm you could sustain. This is like, I need to find a rhythm I can sustain and maximize that for 20 minutes. So it's a little bit of a different perspective on that. But yeah, otherwise, keep the double unders tight. So if you're in this group, you're probably maybe a little bit more proficient in double unders, potentially. So trying to push the 24 every time unbroken, because that can definitely help a little bit. And then if we move into group 3, these would be people getting 20 plus rounds. So even up to 25, which I'm going to say 25 is plus will be, maybe 24 plus will be really elite scores. Like maybe if we looked at this past week, maybe 24 plus would be people in the low 9s to 8-minute range in the world. Maybe it's even a little higher than that. I mean, but we'll see. We'll find out. But in this group, your setup needs to be a little bit tighter, because your transition time is going to make up a few seconds every round. And you think about, you do 24, 23 rounds and you lose 2 seconds a round, that adds up over time. So your setup, you still want to create that little circuit, as I talked about for the first 2 groups, but you want it to be a little bit tighter, just to save that extra 1 or 2 seconds every round. Your toes to bar, you're going to be trying to push for unbroken sets. I believe both the men and women, they all did unbroken sets. I think Khan broke towards the end, and he even said, he was saying that his toes to bar is a weaker movement for him, but he still was able to push to 23 rounds with near unbroken sets. So you guys are going to have to be pushing unbroken. And a lot of you who are in this group, you probably see the workout and just already intuitively know, like, yeah, I'm doing these unbroken for 20 minutes. So it's not really a matter of thinking about it. But you're going to have to try to find a rhythm that's kind of challenging, because your round splits are going to be anywhere from 40 to 50 seconds, and then you're just going to try to sustain that for 20 minutes. Like that's your goal. So that kind of wraps up the avatars. Let's move into kind of our workout prep and everything that's going to go into that.
Cool. So just like last week, guys, we're going to put you through a start to finish on a running clock. We're going to start you off with an aerobic prep piece. This is going to be accumulation of rounds for about 15 minutes of rowing, step-ups, push-ups, air squats, toes to rings, and some single unders. Okay, so we're just going to be creating the same patterns, but in a nice flow pace to prep you guys for the 20-minute piece. Going into some dynamic range of motion, hip mobilization is going to be the most important thing. So think of like hip flow, 90-90 hip flows, and any glute prep. So for our movement preparation, we're going to do a CP build with a thruster from the rack. All right, so recommend to build to a moderate triple, so make it snappy and drop from the top. You don't want to do anything aggressive or something you can fail on. Okay, we just want to jazz you up for the movement pattern you're going to be doing with the dumbbells. And then for the workout-specific preparation, you're going to be doing 3 sets at 80% of your game, I'd say, pace. Okay, so that's relative to you and how you game plan that, but that'll come out with some 20 cal row into 3 rounds of 2 to 4 dumbbell thrusters, 2 to 4 toe to bar, and 10 to 15 double unders. Okay, so for that, those pieces, you guys just want to test the waters, right? Figure out how this is going to work, where your grip's going to go, how you're placing the dumbbells. Let's see. And that's about it.
Yep. The one thing to add is you're going to be jumping a lot, so make sure you do prep the bottom of your feet, your plantar fascia, roll it out with the lacrosse ball, roll out the calves, really get a lot of blood in your lower leg, because the last thing you want to do is get tight or have blood pooling down there to where you have to slow down or break up double unders because your feet are cramping, your calves are cramping. So after the warm-up, when you're doing your specific mobilization work, add in some soft tissue or things you might want to do with your feet just to get blood in there, so you just are at best prepped for all the jumping you're going to be doing.
Mm-hmm.
I have a few notes, and then I think that probably, in addition to redos. So notes, like, I think the theme for this week, well, of course, is hashtag sustain, but just finding your rhythm. And I think a lot of people who've put the training in are going to find their cadence as they get into this one. And the key for you guys is just to keep on that cadence. You're just going to try to keep working for 20 minutes. So get in there, find your rhythm, and then just keep working. Have the backup rope, like Brian said. Double or triple knot your shoes. You don't want your shoes to come untied because that's going to waste time. And if that happens in the 14th minute, you're going to be frustrated, and so we don't want that to happen. I mean, even tape your shoelaces down, doesn't matter. Sweatbands, same like as last week. If you are somebody that's going to get sweaty, maybe you have that or you have a towel really close nearby. If that's going to be a problem with doing that consistently, then maybe you just have the sweatbands or something else to prevent you from wasting time with the towel. And of course, grips, wearing grips, especially if you've used them in training, to just protect your hands. Because if we think about redos, this is going to be kind of dependent on how well you do in the first attempt. Because if you're in that first group avatar and you're doing 80 to 90, 100 toes to bar, then you could probably do it again on Monday and be okay, maybe. Again, depends on the volume of training you've built, whatnot. For those in the 120 to 180 toes to bar, like doing it twice will be tough, but people can do it, especially again if they have the volume of training built. So you do it on a Friday morning, and then you rest till maybe Monday afternoon, you hit it again. Of course, there'll be people that do it 3 times, which is crazy, but my suggestion would be, this is maybe one you do twice max if needed. If not, give it 1 time, solid effort, full effort, and then walk away happy. Anything else?
I think that's it.
Awesome. Well, best of luck, hashtag sustain, and we'll see you next week.